Umueze's kingdom was a land blessed by nature and admired by strangers. It sat peacefully between thick green forests and long red dirt roads that wound like ancient paths of destiny. In the mornings, mist would rise from the river like soft smoke, and the voices of women in the market would fill the air before the sun even climbed fully into the sky. Farmers
Fresh
returned
yams
from
here,
their
best
farmlands with
quality.
baskets
How
heavy
much
with
for the
yams,
pepper?
vegetables, and fresh palm fruits. Hunters came back with stories of the forest. Children ran barefoot, laughter pouring from their mouths like music. Umueze was not just a kingdom, it was a home, and the heartbeat of that home was peace. But peace is a fragile thing. It can be shattered by war, by hunger, by betrayal, or by a king. The day King Obidike became king, the sky did not fall. No thunder struck, no warning came from the spirits. Yet something in Umueze changed. Obidike was not a poor man who became wealthy overnight. He was born into royalty and raised among power. His shoulders were broad, his voice deep, his eyes sharp like the blade of a warrior's knife. But the greatest thing about King Obidike was not his strength, it was his arrogance. He sat on the throne as though it was carved for him alone. He ruled as though the people were dust beneath his feet, existing only to praise him, to fear him, and to fill his palace with treasure. He did not love advice, he hated questions, and he despised sympathy. To Obidike, mercy was weakness, and wickedness was strength. One bright morning, Umueze market was alive. Women smiled as they arranged their peppers. Young girls carried baskets of tomatoes. Men laughed as they bargained for palm oil and smoked fish. Even goats wandered proudly between stalls as though they owned the land. It was the kind of morning that reminded people that life could still be sweet. Then the palace guards arrived. Captain Umueze led them, tall, muscular, and stern. His face carried no warmth, only duty. The guards behind him wore black and red warrior outfits, their staffs held firmly like warning signs. The market froze, no one spoke, only the sound of footsteps and the rustle of wrappers remained. Captain Umueze lifted his staff slightly.
Everybody stop what you are doing!
Like a whip, everybody stop. The women paused mid-sail. The men turned. Children were pulled close to their mothers. Captain Umueze's eyes swept across the crowd like he was counting them. The king has spoken, he announced. Every household must bring half of their harvest to the palace today. A heavy silence followed. Half. It was not a tax. It was robbery wrapped in royal words. One woman's basket almost slipped from her hand. Half. She whispered, her mouth dry. But our children will have nothing. Captain Umueze's expression did not move. Anybody that complains will be punished, he added coldly. At first, nobody spoke again, but pain gives people courage. A young man stepped forward, his fist tightened. His eyes burned. This is wickedness, he shouted. Why must we suffer like slaves in our own land? The market women gasped. Some began to beg him with their eyes to stop talking, but the words had already escaped. Captain Umueze's gaze turned toward him slowly, dangerously. Did you just call the king wicked? The young man did not back down. Yes. Because it is wickedness. The air became thick, fear rose like smoke. The guards moved closer, surrounding him while the crowd stumbled backwards. Women clutched their baskets and pulled the children behind them. Some began to cry quietly, not from weakness, but from helplessness. The young man stood at the center, breathing hard, refusing to be broken, and in that moment, Umueze market, once full of laughter, became a place of terror. Inside the palace, King Obidike sat comfortably on his throne. Carved wooden pillars stood like guardians around him. Animal skin rugs lay beneath his feet. The palace walls wore patterns of history and power. Chiefs knelt before him, men older than his father, their backs bent not by age alone, but by fear. Obidike ate grapes slowly, watching them like a man watching ants. So, he said lazily, wiping his lips. How does my kingdom look? One chief cleared his throat carefully. My king. The people are complaining. Obidike smiled, as if he had heard a joke. Complaining. He repeated. About what? The harvest taxes are too heavy, the chief continued. There is hunger. Before the chief could finish, King Obadiah rose to his feet. The coral beads on his neck clinked softly, sounding like the laughter of danger. Is the kingdom theirs? He turned out. The chiefs shook. Obadiah stepped
Tell
closer.
them, if
his
they
eyes
breathe
wide,
in umueze,
his voice
they must
boiling
pay
with
for
pride.
the air.
Tell them this: if they breathe in umueze, they must pay for the air. The chiefs flinched. One tried to speak again. My king, mercy. Obadiah's face hardened. Mercy is for the weak, he snapped. I am the lion of umueze. Then he turned to Captain Yud, who had entered quietly. Captain Yud, he said, voice calm now, the calm of a man who enjoys cruelty. Any man that disobeys my order,
Any man that
make him
refuses
an
my
example.
order, make an example
Captain
of
Yud
him.
bowed. It will be done, my king. And the throne room, filled with history, became a hall of oppression. At night, the palace became quiet, but inside Queen Neoma's chamber, silence was not peace, it was pain. Queen Neoma sat alone under the dim glow of an oil lamp. Her rich green lace blouse and gold wrapper looked beautiful, yet they could not hide the sadness that lived in her eyes. Tears gathered as she clasped her hands together, not because she lacked riches, but because she lacked a husband she could recognize. King Obadiah was not always this cruel, but power had fed the darkest parts of him. Neoma's heart ached for umueze, and it ached for her children. When Princess Adis entered quietly, she found her mother like that, broken in the most silent way. Mother. Adis whispered. Queen Neoma quickly wiped her face,
Mother,
forcing
why are you
strength
always
into her
crying
posture.
these days?
Adis stepped closer, her eyes sharp with worry. Why are you crying again?
Adeze, you saw
Queen
me
Neoma
crying.
exhaled shakily. Because your father's heart has become stone, she said
Because
softly.
your father's heart has turned
And
into
stone does
stone.
not feel guilt. Adis swallowed. He is destroying
He is
umueze,
destroying
she
umueze.
said, voice
What?
trembling,
How?
not
He
in
has
fear
taken
but
everything.
in anger. The queen nodded slowly.
My daughter, a wicked
When a
king
king
destroys
becomes
even his
wicked,
own blood.
his wickedness enters his own home. Adis held her mother's hands, and in the candlelight, a princess learned that royalty did not protect you from sorrow. Prince Ifani trained every morning in the palace courtyard. His body was strong, his movements disciplined, his focus sharp. He wore his royal blue ISI eagle top with pride, his red cap sitting neatly on his head like a reminder of his destiny. But destiny did not comfort him, not when he heard the cries outside the palace gates, not when he saw hunger on faces that once smiled freely. Osita, his closest friend, approached one morning, his voice urgent, my prince. The village is boiling. People are angry. Ifani tightened his grip on the sword. I know. Osita stepped closer. The king is going too far. The elders are afraid. The women are crying. Children are hungry. Ifani's jaw clenched. I will speak to him. Osita's eyes widened. My prince.
Be careful.
Be
The
careful.
king is not normal
Your
again.
father is not himself anymore. Ifani lowered the sword slowly,
He is my
staring
father,
into the
but
distance.
umueze is my
He is
people.
my father, he replied. But umueze is my people. And in that sentence was the heart of a king being born. When Ifani entered the throne room, the air was heavy. The chiefs were seated quietly, avoiding eye contact. The guards stood stiff like statues. King Obadiah sat on the throne as if he was the only soul that mattered. Father, Ifani greeted. Obadiah did not look at him. What do you want? The people are suffering, Ifani said firmly. Reduce the tax. A silence fell, even the palace seemed to pause. Then Obadiah laughed. So you have joined them. It is not joining, Ifani replied calmly. It is truth. Obadiah rose slowly and stepped down from the throne. He walked toward the prince with the kind of anger that made even brave men tremble. Truth. He repeated. His face twisted. You think because you are my son you can challenge my authority. I am not challenging you, Ifani said. I am pleading. But pleading was not what Obadiah understood. Obadiah moved closer, his eyes burning with pride, and for a moment, a king stood before his son, not as a father, but as a tyrant. Never speak to me like that again. Obadiah roared. Ifani held his ground. You can silence me, he said quietly, but you cannot silence hunger in the land. That was the day the prince saw it clearly. His father's wickedness was no longer a mistake, it was a choice. That night, Princess Adis could not sleep. A strange weight sat on her heart, and when she finally closed her eyes, A dream swallowed her whole. In the dream, Umueze was covered in red smoke, the throne was surrounded by fire, and a voice whispered like a spirit in the wind, when a king becomes a curse, the kingdom must choose truth or destruction. Addis woke up sweating. She grabbed her wrapper and stepped into the night. With a lantern in her hand, she walked through the forest path, trees towering like silent witnesses, moonlight spilling over leaves. When she reached the ancient shrine, fog moved slowly around her feet, a fire burned softly, its glow touching cowries and calabashes laid on the ground like offerings. Then she saw him, Dibia Okolobia. His beard was grey, his eyes deep, his presence heavy like a living mystery. Addis knelt respectfully. I had a dream, she whispered. The Dibia threw cowrie shells and studied them. His face turned serious. The king's wickedness has opened a gate, he said quietly. Addis' throat tightened. A gate. A gate of destruction, the Dibia replied, raising a finger slowly. If he does not change, Umueze will cry. Addis' eyes filled with fear, but her heart remained strong.
What must we do?
Warn him, the Dibia said. And warn
him and warn your brother.
A storm is
A
coming.
storm is coming.
Addis stood up slowly, the lantern light shone on her face, tears fought to escape. But determination won. Queen Neoma entered King Obidike's private chamber. The air smelled of wine and pride, candles lined the room. Royal curtains danced slightly in the night breeze. King Obidike drank confidently, lounging like a man whose conscience had died. My king. Neoma began carefully. He did not look up. Woman. What is it? The gods are angry, she whispered. Please. Stop this suffering. Obidike chuckled. Gods. He repeated. Which gods? Then he stood, his voice sharpened like steel. Tell them I am their god. Neoma trembled. My king. Please. You are inviting a curse. Obidike stepped forward, his face darkening. Curse.
If you mention that
His
word
eyes
again,
flashed.
I will
If you
send you
mention
back
that
to your
word
father's
again.
house.
He warned, I will send you back to
You
your
are
father's
breaking my
house.
heart.
Neoma's heart broke loudly inside her chest. Though no sound came
You
out,
are breaking
you are
my
breaking me,
heart.
she whispered, but Obidike's pride was louder than her pain. Leave my room. She walked out slowly, her steps heavy, her soul exhausted, and behind her, a throne remained strong, but a kingdom was collapsing. In the village square, elders gathered beneath the old tree that had listened to generations. Their faces were hard, their eyes filled with quiet anger. Chief Nwanko, grey-bearded and bold, stood with his staff.
We have endured
We have
too much.
endured too much, he declared. Murmurs of agreement spread. The king is
That
no
king
longer
is not
behaving like a
human
human.
again.
One elder said, if we do nothing, the gods will punish all of us. Another added, Chief Nwanko raised his staff. Then we go to the
Then
palace,
we go to the
he said
palace
firmly.
today.
Today. And the elders rose, they walked with determination, dust lifting under their feet, villagers following behind. When they reached the palace gate, guards blocked them. We demand to see the king. Chief Nwanko shouted. But the guards refused. Captain Yud arrived with the cold face of a loyal servant. Leave, he ordered. Chief Nwanko's voice shook with anger. Tell your king his wickedness will destroy. The sentence did not finish. Captain Yud raised his hand. Drive them away. The elders stumbled back in shock. Villagers screamed. And as tension rose, a figure appeared. Prince Ifoni. He stepped forward, raising his hand. Stop. The guards froze. Captain Yud's eyes widened. My prince. This is the king's order. Ifoni's voice was firm like iron. Then tell the king. His order ends today. And Umueze held its breath, because the prince had finally chosen the kingdom over fear. That night, Umueze became strange. The wind howled like something searching. The sky darkened earlier than usual. Thunder growled in the distance even though the clouds were thin. Snakes appeared near huts, causing villagers to run. Dusty rain fell softly, leaving people confused and afraid. From the shadows, Dibia Okolobia stood and raised his staff. The fire beside him flickered wildly. His voice echoed through the night like prophecy. A curse walks when wickedness becomes king. And somewhere inside the palace, King Obidike's confidence began to crack. Obidike did not fall in battle, he fell in his own bed, his body grew weak. His face lost its strength. His eyes, once arrogant, now searched the room like a man seeing fear for the first time. Queen Neoma sat beside him, her face heavy with sorrow. Prince Ifani entered with Princess Adis behind him. Father. Ifani called. Adis stepped closer. Father. Please. Apologize. Save the kingdom. Obidike's lips trembled. He turned his head slowly, like a man remembering the pain he caused. His eyes filled. For the first time, King Obidike looked like a man and not a god. He whispered. I have done evil. The room became silent, even the candles seemed to pause. Ifani held his father's hand gently. Let Umueze heal, he said softly. Obidike's voice cracked. Save Umueze, he begged. Before my wickedness becomes its grave. And as the final words left him, the wicked king left the earth. The palace courtyard filled with mourning. The kingdom did not dance, but neither did they collapse. They simply breathed, as if a burden had been removed from their chest. Prince Ifani stood before the elders and knelt. Forgive my father's sins, he said. I will rebuild what wickedness destroyed. Chief Nonko watched him carefully, then nodded. May the land heal again. When Ifani was crowned king, the people cheered not because they wanted power, but because they wanted hope. Princess Adi stood beside her brother, eyes sharp and ready to protect truth. Queen Neoma smiled softly for the first time in many seasons, and as the sun rose over Umueze, the kingdom remembered the lesson written in suffering. When wickedness wears a crown, the land suffers, but when truth rises, even darkness must bow.